So I've never done any TED Talk ever in my life. So when I decided to do this TED Talk today on the theme of women leadership, I had to really sit down and reflect on what leadership actually means to me. And when did leadership become such a core component of shaping me to become the person I am today? Like many other people, I strongly believe that great leaders are built and not born. To me, a great leader is built not only by their success and achievement, but also on the foundation of their unique story, who they are, where they come from, every challenge they face, how they overcome them, and more importantly, the opportunities they have to learn and grow to become an even better leader. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, too many people were born into situations that just don't allow opportunities at all, not to even mention leadership opportunities. A lot of women, like the one in my hometown, Cambodia, or my home country, Cambodia, where a lot of social norms and gender roles are still very prominent, women are not encouraged to push themselves or to go far in life. My story is no different from many other stories you've heard of other Cambodian women. However, my story took a completely different turn, and that's what I want to share with you today. I grew up in a small village in Cambodia, like I introduced myself, called Back Home, which sounds very similar to back home, where everyone knows each other. Most people do either farming or fishing for a living, so we always have fresh fish and food all the time. My house in that village is surrounded by all sorts of tropical fruits you can think of. Either it's mango, papaya, banana, jackfruit, and the list just goes on. And that's what I love the most about my hometown. The strong sense of community and a lot of just natural resources. The one issue that a small village like my hometown has is a lack of resources and opportunities. Growing up, we didn't have access to electricity until about 15 years ago. And a lot of the people, or everyone in my village, including my own family, had been using water from the wells until about 5 years ago that we had access to clean water finally. In school, there was never any fun school trip or any extracurricular activities at all. And inside in classes, there was no lab or experiments because we simply did not have the resources for it. So you might wonder, how did I come from that small village back home to be here sharing my story with all of you today? Courage. That's the answer to that question. Instead of just going with the flow with the fate of my life, graduating high school, and probably go to a teacher training center and become a primary school teacher very close to home, like my mom always wanted me to, here I am, being more than or about 8,000 miles away from home, in a country where everything is completely new, unfamiliar, and at times very overwhelming. My late grandfather, who survived Khmer Rouge genocide, always said, when you come from nothing, everything is something. I took approach seriously in life. I learned to appreciate everything I have. And most importantly, I learned not to only make the most out of everything I have, I learned to make something out of nothing. When I couldn't afford to take extra classes, like English classes in school, I self-taught myself English. Is anyone here a fan of The Ellen Show? That's what I watched growing up. I watched The Ellen Show on YouTube every day, from a point where I have the subtitle on and not being able to understand anything at all, and just laugh along when the audience laugh at Ellen's joke. To a point where I was able to completely understand everything without having the subtitle on. Like everyone else in my village, my family, none of them speaks English. So I practice speaking English to myself in front of the mirror, or sometimes I record myself speaking English. You might or might not, some other time I might or might not talk in English to my dog, which makes my sister thought I was going crazy for a second. And some other time I remember I used to even run after foreigners or tourists who come across in our village just so that I have the opportunity to practice my English with them, to see whether they're able to understand me and to see how much progress I've made in my English learning journey. I applied that same approach in other aspects of life, like prepare for my national exam. And as a result, I got an A. And from that opportunity, I got cash prizes and some other rewards directly from the Prime Minister of Cambodia. I carry that mindset and approach even when I come here to the US. This past 3 or 4 years at Gettysburg College, I had the courage to really always put my foot at every door with a curious mind and a positive attitude. I've applied and participated in everything that you could think a liberal arts college like Gettysburg could offer. Either it's a summer fellowship in Washington, D.C., a leadership conference in Louisiana, or an immersion project in the US-Mexico border. Sometimes I apply for things that I know upfront that I might not even have a chance, but I still do it anyway. Because the courage I had to do everything I could to succeed is just as strong as the courage I have to be okay and accept rejection. With that mindset, that's how I landed my first on-campus job in the library. While everyone else just simply walked out of the library after the International Student Orientation ended, I walked up and introduced myself to a librarian, simply expressing my interest in working there, and then I got the job. But it wasn't all about seizing the opportunities. It was also having a very curious mind with a positive attitude. I started that first job knowing nothing, and I really meant nothing about library technology or system. Because back home, when you check out a book from the library, you sign your name down, the title of the book, on a physical notebook. But I never hesitated to admit when I didn't know an answer or I didn't know something. The courage I had in me pushes me to constantly ask for feedback from my supervisor so that I can improve my skills and become better. And before I knew it, I got promoted to be the student supervisor. Where now I help mentor and train new students higher in the library. I'm sharing my story with you today because here I am as a leader from a small village back home in Cambodia. It is very often that women who were born in a situation very similar to me to be complacent and don't feel the encouragement to push harder and go far. And we as a society need to ensure that we guide and encourage women to seize opportunity and challenge them to change their life. The courage I have to really put my foot at every door with a curious mind and a positive attitude has helped me get out of my small village to be here today. And my commitment as a leader now and in the future is to make sure that I show the example to other girls in Cambodia and maybe everywhere else in the world to find the courage within themselves to do the same or more.